This month's guest is Molly Fletcher. She's a sports agent, expert negotiator, and has been called the female Jerry Maguire. Molly's worked with golfer Matt Kuchar, Doc Rivers, John Smoltz, the old quarterback Joe Theismann, Lenny Wilkins, the great basketball coach Aaron Andrews, Billy Donovan, Bobby Cox, and more. She speaks to audiences nationwide on topics related to business development, management, team building, negotiation, and women in leadership. She's the author of 2 previous books, and her latest is A Winner's Guide to Negotiating. I recently sat down for a long chat with Molly. Let's see some of that right now. When we do things for people,
right.
I mean real things.
Sure.
Not just
right.
send out a birthday
right.
card on their birthday, right?
Right.
Or a perfunctory text on their birthday.
Right.
But when you do things
right.
for people,
sure.
without asking for something in return.
Right. And that was one of my philosophies all the time as an agent was, a lot of times an athlete will call you up and say, hey, I just left the ballpark. You know, a guy from General Motors just came up to me and said they want to do an endorsement deal with me. Here's his card. Will you call him? So we make money on that deal, right?
Sure.
So we call pretty fast. But then sometimes an athlete will call and say, hey, by the way, I saw that, you know, Toby Keith is coming into town and I want to go to that concert. Can you hook me up with tickets? Making that call with the same amount of urgency that you make the call for things where you make money. We don't make money. We spend money when we get him tickets to Toby Keith. But when you operate with the same level of urgency, whether you benefit or not, whether you make money or not, I think sends really powerful messages. So that was always something that was incredibly important to me with our guys.
It's amazing that when you do these things for other people and you go the extra mile and they see that,
mm-hmm.
then that client of yours, that customer of yours becomes your greatest advertising.
Absolutely.
They say, Molly
right.
is great.
Right.
Other players, you won't believe. It's more than an agent. She's a da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right, right. And my philosophy was always to get one guy in every single clubhouse, right? You get a couple guys out on the PGA Tour. Those guys will sell and tell for you.
Yes,
you don't
they
have
will.
to sell yourself. Let them communicate and tell stories about the things that the agency's done for them. That, to me, you know.
You can never do too much.
No question.
For a business partner, you can never do too much for your customer. Our role is to solve problems for your
Sure.
customers, the players.
Right.
And for your customers, the general managers and the owners. Now, Molly, your mom was a school teacher and your dad a pharmaceutical rep, which means he was a salesman.
Sure.
Where did you get and develop the skills that you needed to broker multi-million-dollar deals with these great baseball players and coaches and golfers? I mean, how did you, where did this come from?
Well, and I talk about it in A Winner's Guide. I mean, the book is focused on real life experiences. I think in life we get better at bigger deals when we practice even in the smaller deals.
Yeah.
I watched my mom and dad navigate their way through. We were a very middle class family. So the price of tickets, out to dinner, all those things mattered. So whenever anything was potentially negotiable, my mom and dad would do it. And so I would watch the conversations they would have with vendors, with anybody that we dealt with outside of our family. If there was room for negotiation, my parents would approach it that way. And because of that, I think even at 5 and 10 and 15 years old, I was always listening and learning. And we've talked about that. To me, it's about being a sponge in life and taking every opportunity you can to try to learn from others. And I learned so much of this from them and just was able to take smaller deals and turn them into bigger deals.
All right, I'm going to give Molly a little theory of mine and see how she, I really truly have never had an original thought. Everything I've learned is from what I read, what I saw, or what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? I mean, you're a successful woman in business, all the obstacles you have, and you have made it. You're there. You figured it out.
Well, I think, I don't know if I've had an original thought or not. I really appreciate what you're saying because I can see your point. I think we all overlap each other in life in a lot of ways. I think we all, though, take the information that we get from other people, that we read, that we find on the internet, whatever it is, the conversations that we have in our life, and we capture all that, and then we make it who we are.
Yeah,
and so we put our own spin on it, our own sort of twist to it, in our own authentic way. But I agree with you. I mean, oftentimes it's things that have been inspired by something that we've learned from someone else.
You bring up such a good point, because so many times we want to copy somebody.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to copy anybody. You know, I talked to Sam Walton and you know, just drained him of every knowledge I could. Bernie Marcus, the founder of Home Depot, the same way. Vince Lombardi, the great coach. But I took it in to be me.
Sure.
So many people try to copy somebody else's life. You've heard of, like, Lombardi had a lot of assistant coaches that went out to be head coaches because they were with Vince Lombardi,
Right.
the greatest coach in the history of the world,
Right.
and they failed.
Sure.
You got to be yourself, right?
No question.
You got
Exactly.
get all this information, get all this knowledge from Molly, and a little bit from me, but it's got to. You've got to put it in your own perspective. You've got to own it.
Right. And I think that's what, you know, when we connect with other people, they want us. One of the things that I hear, I do a lot of public speaking, is that I'm real on stage. And that's so important to me, for people to feel like I've looked each and every one of them in the eye throughout that 1 hour keynote, and that I've gotten to kind of know them. And I've seen what they've laughed at, I've seen what they've smiled at, I've seen what they've frowned at, I've seen what triggered them, and I love it after having those conversations and saying, hey, when I said this, you had a look on your face. What were you thinking? Because you learn a lot from everybody that you connect with.
That's so important. So many people are afraid of public speaking. I understand that. But by connecting to your audience, you are engaging yourself in that total experience.
Right.
I have experienced the same thing.
Right.
And as a performer on a football field, I experienced the same thrill there, because there are 80,000 people
Right.
that are out there, and this atmosphere is just so energetic, and
Sure.
but you embrace
That.
the crowd, you embrace the environment, and that's what you're talking about.
Well, I bet for you as an athlete, and I was a college athlete, we got coached a lot. We got feedback from people a lot. And I think one of the things that I see in great leaders, great negotiators, great conversationalists, great salespeople, whatever it might be, they have the courage to be vulnerable when they need to be.
Yeah.
They have the courage to ask for feedback and ask for advice. After I speak, I always want the surveys back. Tell me what they said and what can I do better. Because no matter what, each and every audience is going to give you something that you can say, wow, I'm going to tweak that. I'm going to make it even better next time.
And as we're all looking for mentors, and that's how we get smarter. But then we've got to internalize that to what I do.
Sure.
You know, I cannot throw a ball like John Unitas. We threw differently.
Right.
We had different motion. You look at the golfers swing. They all swing different, right?
Sure.
It's a mechanical game, but they swing different,
Sure.
hit it different.
Right.
But they learn fundamentals, they learn from other people, and then they adapt to, here's how I'm comfortable. It's
Right.
in my comfort zone.
Right.